story time. So hii story hata sijui nianzie wapi, but then it goes back to a time when I was in primary school. So a few days ago I was speaking to one of my, he wasn't a classmate, he was actually a classmate to my brother. He visited a place around my hometown, not even hometown, but my village. And so he was like, I met someone today. And then I was like, who did you meet? And then he was like, Mr. Obwaku. I was like, that's good. Well, Michael Obwaku, he was our English teacher when I was in primary school, level year class 7, class 8 at a school uko Busia ilikuwa inaitwa Victory Junior Academy. So alikuwa anatufunza English. At that time alikuwa anafunza hadi religion. I don't remember kama alifunza social studies, but I think most likely maybe because mwalimu alikuwa anafunza SST ndio alikuwa anafunza CRE, I guess at that time. He told me amekutana na yeye, I knew alikuwa in a certain school still uko home, but then Oga akaniambia he had seen him in a different school. So I was like, oh, so he moved schools. I didn't know. At that time when he was my teacher alikuwa anafunza private school, but looks like he got TSC employment and that's why he was deployed to the local schools. So but then he's doing so well, so I'm really happy for him. But then when he told me his story, it reminded me of a time when he was my teacher teaching English. I remember on English we used to write a lot of compositions, and every time angetupatia assignment I would submit it. Everything else was check, but alikuwa na comment moja all the time. Emasa? Wait, did they used to call me Emasa in primary school? But then I had different names in primary school. By then my name was, oh my god, it was a very ugly combination. Anyway, for the sake of people who like making fun at people, I'm not telling you what I used to be called back then. But at least I have Emasa and I still have Perpetua. So hiyo katikati siwaambi. But then mbona sikumbuki nilikuwa naitwa aje primary school na watu wengi. That's so sad. Anyway, he told me your writing is good, but it is flat and dry. So sasa compositions tulikuwa tunaambiwa write your compositions, make sure you've used a lot of proverbs, use a lot of idioms, use a lot of sayings, you know, all those things that used to make compositions you know, all flowery those days. Yani anataka ile description ya I woke up in the morning feeling I don't know how, I could see the magenta sun. Maybe I used not to have those because I used to feel like it's just a lot of work. And I remember one time after he stopped teaching us, there was actually a teacher who came and like unaona, like when you're preparing candidates for an exam and then you give them tips, like when you want to describe a beautiful morning, this is how you can go about it. When you want to describe a situation when you're distressed, this is how you're supposed to go about it. So at least that is what helped me. But then to me it was a lot of work, and then I think I wasn't lazy, but to me it didn't look original because sometimes some of the students would use so much of them until the whole thing is just, I don't know, you understand, they need too much of something. So that's what I was avoiding. But then the teacher, almost every time when I used to write my composition, he was like, you've not used any, I don't know, special. But maybe I was trying to include or rather incorporate a lot of vocabularies. At least that is what I used to do mostly. Lakini mambo na sayings na idioms, I used not to have lots of that. And so that cost me, especially in my English grades, when it comes to composition, because ninge score lower than mtu mwenye amezieka mob. So I remember when he told me about him, nikaanza kumwambia, by the way, he used to say this and this about my compositions, they were dry and all that. But then, who is God? When we did our KCPE exam, guess which of the subject? English. Yani mimi na dry compositions zangu because we were taught how like to go about it, but I told you I used to avoid using idiom sayings because I felt like using them I might be trying to force them into my composition, into my story, until it makes my story lose its plot or whatever. So I used to avoid them. But then when the results came, English was my best subject, and I don't know if, but I remember when I met him in Kisumu, I actually told him English was my best, and I was like, huh. I remember kwanza hiyo one of the time juu alikuwa anashinda kuniambia my composition is dry. Siku moja alitupatia composition, I don't remember what the subject was about, subject matter that is. So I went and took a story. I copied a story from a certain, I think it either a storybook or a textbook, I can't remember quite. So nika copy story and then I presented it as mine. So when he read the stories, of course mwanafunzi anajulikanaga na mwalimu wake, like even me as a teacher, I always know the capabilities of my student. I can always tell what is original and what is not. So the same case happened. So he read my composition. It was so full of those things that he wanted until he questioned me. So he called me to the side and he was like, is this really your composition? I denied. Up to today, I don't even know why I denied. Why did I do it, by the way? Anyway, it wasn't mine, but mimi nikamwambia it's mine. And then he was like, okay, I hope your composition subsequently will be like this. So your story kaishia hapo. So he doubted that. Of course, mimi nilikuwa najua si yangu because I can't write like that. But I told you, eventually English became my best subject. And also until today, of course, you know I'm a teacher and I teach English. But the good thing is with the curriculum that we are teaching, of course, we encourage them to have those. But there is no insistence on that. If anything, we go for vocabularies, looking at their sentence structures and vitu kama hizo. Lakini a lot of, beating about the bush, trying to decorate stuff. We mostly look at your content. For as long as that is good, of course, there are marks for good language and creativity. But then, God is good because still at my KCSE level, but then I teach English, but math was my best subject. Lakini jispendi kujisumbua akili. I said, I'm not taking any complicated subject, and I might not be okay with entirely being a teacher, but I feel like if I had a second option and I had to choose my subjects again, like my subject combination, which I would want to teach in high school, I would still go for English. I just love languages. I don't know what happened to Swahili, but I guess it's just because somebody can't do the two subjects altogether. So I had to choose one, and I chose English because English has always been my favorite. So yeah, so like alafu story ingine pia nakuja kuambia, just hold. So like you might something like the whole thing, the moral of the story is you are something, yeah, might not appear so good in the eyes of somebody, depending on what somebody is looking for, but in the eyes of somebody else, it's the perfect thing. So that's something that you can take home. Another one, this is a toxic teacher Zaki. I remember when I was still in primary school in the same Victory school. There was a teacher alikuwa anajiita Night Muhambe. I think ever since I joined that school hadi nikatoka, mwalimu alikuwa hajawahi toka hapo na alikuwa anafunza watoto the kinder level. And I remember one time, when we were getting to school that time, I had transferred from a public primary school nikiwa year 1, class 1, yeah, class 1. Hiyo time si bado zilikuwa zinaitwa class 1. Nikiwa class 1 nikaenda hiyo shule nikiwa class 2. So when I got to that school, of course, I don't come from a well-off family, so of course hiyo ilikuwa ni juhudi za wazae wanipeleka better school. So after some time tukakaka huko hivyo, I don't know, but normally there are impressions that teachers have about students. It's a normal thing, and I think it's according to where she had placed us or placed me, and that is when she made a certain mean comment. It's something that I didn't really have in mind, and I'm not even saying this because I'm bitter. No, it's just an experience that I'm sharing, because ilinisumbua tu kidogo because at that time I was a kid, and what did I know about what is good and what is not? But then, of course, it was an insult, and then I don't even remember if I told my mom, dad, or anybody. But then one time, unajua venye watoto ushago na kuwaga na ringworms kwa kichwa. So I think mahali hapa kwa kichwa moja hivi. So she used to see it. I think sio kama alikuwa anaionaga bali aliona hiyo siku. But then I remember alisema ati mnakuwa na hizi vitu kwa sababu ya kukula omena. Omena imetoka wapi kwa history yote? I mean, like, that was so mean. That was so mean. Yeah? Ati mnakuwa na ringworms juu ya kukula omena. Surely. That wasn't good, but I'm not bitter because it's something of the past, and at that time I didn't even think much about it. But then the whole thing is, I'm a teacher myself, and all I ever try to do is not to be the kind of teacher that I had during my days, or during the days when my parents were in school, because my mom also had an ugly story about a certain teacher. Na ika happen, huyo mwalimu mwenye alikuwa amefunza mama yangu alikuja akafunza, she was teaching geo in our high school. I don't even remember, mimi na names za walimu I don't even remember. So that teacher, like I remember one time my mom came for a visiting day, alafu akamwona akipita, and then she was like, oh, is that a teacher in this school? Kwanza she had just come, akaniambia that lady used to teach us in college ama ikiwa sijui level gani, and I was like okay. And then unfortunately they had an ugly story. So like as teachers, our impacts go a long way, so we don't have to be mean, because you might never know what a kid might take for the rest of their lives. Yeah, so we just need to be teachers of a difference. At least that is what I stand for. Like, I don't want to be that teacher my mom had, that teacher that I had. It's not like my teachers are bad, but you know, a teacher with a difference, because it's a whole different century altogether, and kids nowadays see kama venye sisi tulikuwa. So we just have to see situations and just act the right way, because hakuna haja kukua mean. You might never know. Yeah, because but I have a lot of students that I still talk to, wenye niliwafunza nikiwa teaching practice, wenye niliwafunza nikiwa my first station pale Kirembe in Kisumu. Like, it's always just good to maintain that, not really maintain, just be a good teacher, in that when your name is mentioned somewhere, or when they see your name somewhere, they always have good thoughts or good memories when you're mentioned. So yeah, that is my story today. Moral lesson no mwenye ndo natafuta, but well, I just wanted to share. So I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.